Good evening, dears. This is a solution for paper 6 worksheet that I gave it to you before the vacation. I wish that you did solve the questions, especially question 4 and 5, which are planning questions. If not, please pause the video, go solve them, and come back to check your answer and compare it with my answer about these questions. So, if you already have them, you can open your paper and check with me if you got the full mark of the question or not. Question number 4. Here he's saying a student is investigating the resistors connected in parallel. The following apparatus available. As we said before, these are not necessarily to be used, all of them, but surely they are needed. Sometimes they add things that are not important. Plan an experiment to investigate how the combined resistance of the resistor connected in parallel depends on the number of resistors. So what do we want to do? I think in the problem, I try to imagine it. They say how the resistance of resistors in parallel depends on how many resistors are there. We know that the more the resistors in parallel, the less the total resistance, right? But we don't want to reach to this conclusion. It's not important to reach a conclusion. We will not write a real experiment with numbers. We just want to tell them what do we want to do. So here he's telling you a guideline what you should do. He's saying you should draw a diagram of the circuit you could use to determine the resistance of resistors connected in parallel. We know that the only way to find the resistance is ammeter and voltmeter. Explain how you would carry out the investigation. Okay. Draw table or tables with column headings to show how you would display the readings. You are not required to enter any reading in the table. If you want, it's up to you, but it will not be calculated or taken into consideration because it will be just only imaginary one because we are not in the lab to do it in real. So first, the diagram. What do you want to do? He said you have power supply. So this is power supply. We need an ammeter. This is one of the resistor. This is another resistor. So I will start by 2 resistors. And now if you want to have a variable resistor here, as he said, it's up to you. If you want to switch, it's up to you. If not, it's okay because they are not necessarily part of this experiment. So this is a resistance 1, this is a resistance 2, and this is a voltmeter. So this is the circuit diagram that is needed for the investigation. Now, what you will do. Let me continue on the other page. What I will do. Now here, let's write it as a point. You can write it as paragraph or point, it's up to you. While using 2 resistors, طبعا they are identical, so both are the same. 2 resistors in parallel. I'll start by 2. I will say measure the current by the ammeter and the voltage by the voltmeter. Calculate R equal V over I, R total equal V over I. Now you may say repeat for another voltage used to get an average, because he said do this experiment, so we have to make some precautions, so that we will take the average. Now the experiment was telling us to test the relation between the resistance and the number of resistors. So now repeat all the steps above for more resistors in parallel. That's it. This is the experiment. Now the last thing he wants, draw a table. So I will put here number of resistors. Sure, it has no unit. Here I want to see what was the current there in ampere, what was the voltage in volt, what was the resistance in ohm. Now we don't need to fill anything here, but imagine that if I want to fill it, you don't need, okay? Again, I will fill it just to tell you what should you do. So here it's not to put any number. So when there are 2, what was this, what was this, what was this? 3, what was this, what was this? That's the way, how do we do it? And we have to repeat it for at least 5 different sets of readings. This is question number 5. Now, let's question number 4. Now, if you did not solve question number 5, pause the video, go to your notebook, to your worksheet, try to do it. And if you lost it, it's June 17, question 5. We will do this experiment together now. A student is investigating whether the resistance of a wire depends on the material from which the wire is made. He's giving us the equation for the resistance, and the following are there. He's saying micrometer, screw gauge. Why do we need the micrometer? Power supply, surely. Stopwatch, okay. Connecting leads, wires means. Wires of different material. Okay, plan an experiment to investigate whether the resistance of wire depends on the material. Okay. You should draw diagram. Okay, what do you want to do? Draw diagram. This is power supply, positive and negative. Here is an ammeter. He says the resistance wire. Resistance wire, just only this wire. So I will write wire here, just, or resistance wire, just to make sure that this wire is different than these wires. These are the connecting leads. This is the resistance wire that it's under the test. And here I will have the voltmeter. That's it. Now, what are the steps there? We say the following. Measure current, I will write I now, by ammeter, voltage by voltmeter, calculate R using R equal V over I. Now, this is the step. You may repeat for different voltage of power supply and find the average. This is a nice experiment. You may use the variable resistor if you want to do it, but like this is enough. Now repeat for other wires of different material. He wants to check how the resistance depends on the type of the material, of different material. Now, the question was, draw diagram, do it. State the key variables that you have to do. What are the key variables? We know that the resistance depends on length of wire, cross-section area, and the type of the material. So if you want to check the type of the material, so make sure to use the same length and same cross-sectional area for all wires. This is just to make sure that you have fair comparison. Finally, he says, draw a table with column headings. Now the table here, the type of material. Surely type of material has no unit. Now here, current in ampere again, voltage in volt, and the resistance in ohm. That's it. يعطيكم العافية. I wish that you are able to solve these questions in the future. يعطيكم العافية.